Welcome to our next lesson on securing legacy Java systems with Spring Security. In this lesson, we will look at using Spring authorization tags and annotations in our charity registration web application where we use OpenJDK 11 and Tomcat 9. Here's what we will learn. We will apply URL and method level security in legacy app. We will use @pre-authorize, @secured, and JSP sec-authorize tags. We will customize our authorization using SpEL and voters. We will implement a JDBC-based UserDetailsService, and we will apply access control levels for fine-grained object level security. This is our current project setup and architecture. We have our Jakarta Enterprise web application with a WAR. Our security currently consists of XML plus a JavaConfig class, SecurityConfig. We have a user admin and registration table in our MariaDB. For Java persistence architecture, we have our registration repository. And for JDBC authorization, we have our JDBcUserDetailsManager. We will update our code, discuss it, and then we will run a live demonstration on Tomcat where we will log in with JDBC users and we will use role-based restrictions on registration delete. In our JSP, we will add @pre-authorized and taglibs. For those of you interested, you can extend with a custom AccessDecisionVoter plus access control levels. Now we will go over to our GitHub repository and we will look at our documentation. Here is our full course doc. We select using Spring Security, and in here we are on lesson 4 using authorization, tags, and annotation. So this 3 hours is a suggestion for you to do a deep dive. So overview, Spring Framework 5.3x, Servlet 4x, Jakarta Enterprise Edition 8, APIs, Spring Security 5.7.10, Tomcat 9, or if you prefer a challenge, Jetty 10+. We have our JPA-based persistence with our RegistrationRepositoryJPA, and we have our JDBC-based authorization using the JdbcUserDetailsManager. Now in our slideshow, we already covered our learning objectives, and we have our goals and talking points or study points. So here we start looking at what we need to do in the code. First, we look at checking authorization rules in the code, where we use security context builder to inspect role, which show has role has authority, and Spring expression language. In our code, we will modify the delete registration method in our default registration service, where we get the authentication and the authorities and the stream, and we look if we match the role admin. And then if the registration exists in our JPA, we remove it. Otherwise, we throw an illegal argument exception with the message of the registration ID is not found, or we did not find the admin role, we throw the access denied exception. So now we have a task to implement the above code in our default registration service, ensuring it uses the registration repository JPA to delete the registration entity. Once we've done that, we can log in as an admin user and verify that the deletion works. Then we look at declaring URL and method security. Here we have our actual security config that we already used in our previous lesson. Here's our authorized request and all the URLs, permit all, authenticated as role admin, any request authentication, and present the login page. And on successful login, go to the list of registration, and we have the logout, successful on logout. And then we currently, in this code example, we have cross-site request forgery disabled. So here we add a URL pattern to registration delete to require role admin in SecurityConfig. And then we test using the JDBC users from the user admin table. So here is where we add the registration controller code. We have a post mapping of delete registration and delete registration with the path variable registration ID, registration service, delete registration, then return, redirect to the registration list. And we look at our Spring security annotation. We have add secured, add pre-authorized, post-authorized, and roles allowed. So we enable the annotations in our security configs with a configuration and enable global method security. Then inside of our JSP tags, we have security authorized as role admin for the delete registration ID method post. We have a delete button which will only show if the user has the admin role. So here what we have to do, we have to update delete registration in the default registration to use pre-authorize. We have pre-authorize has role admin, delete registration. If it exists, remove it, otherwise not found. So we add the delete button to our list JSP, and we ensure that our delete button is visible only to role admin users and that deletion is restricted to admins. Now we go over to Eclipse, where we have implemented all the code we just reviewed. We'll try and run it. Project clean. Build our root maven POM. Done. Clean up again. We select our module. Run as, run on server. Our Tomcat 9 instance with Spring Web 5329. Finish. We just went through our rather verbose logging, and now we're going to log in. And we see our menu. So let's select registration 2. Now what we see here is the user information and the available actions for the user with an enabled delete button. So I will hit the delete button, say OK. And when we list charity registrations now, there's only one event registration. Now that we've demonstrated our code, let's look at how it was implemented. We start here in the View JSP, and we remember we have the user role information section where we showed all the roles that has been assigned in this user info panel. We have the list of permissions displayed. Then we have the delete button, which is enabled only if the user has the admin role, and we have only users with admin role can delete display. For if the user is not in the admin role, he cannot delete the registration. And then we go to our default registration service class, and here is the delete registration implemented. We reauthorize of has role admin. And if we open the call hierarchy, see the REST endpoint, and we see in the registration controller where it is called. Let's go back. And we have also enabled it in our SOAP endpoint. So external systems can delete the registration with our SOAP endpoint. And this concludes this lesson. I will see you in the next one.